Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are unpacking a release that has absolutely shaken up the generative AI landscape. I'm talking about the highly anticipated launch of ChatGPT Images 2.0, which is powered by the brand new GPT Image 2 model. Now, if you've been following the rapid, honestly kind of dizzying pace of AI lately, you know image generation has gone from just a fun little novelty to an absolutely critical professional tool. But with this April 2026 release, OpenAI hasn't just handed us a better paintbrush, They've fundamentally changed how the AI understands the canvas itself. So let's break down exactly what this means for both casual creators and hardcore developers. So here's our quick roadmap for today. We're going to start with the AI image generation war, then meet ChatGPT Images 2.0, dive into the new thinking mode, talk about solving the consistency problem, and finally wrap up with the impact on API developers.
All right, Part 1, the AI image generation war. Let's rewind just a bit and look at this incredibly compressed timeline. Back in December of 2025, Google dropped a model called Nano Banana Pro. And yeah, despite the funny name, it was absolutely no joke. It went completely viral for these hyper-realistic images and incredibly legible text, and it just topped the industry leaderboards instantly. This was so disruptive that it actually triggered an internal code red at OpenAI. And their response? It was lightning fast. Within days, they pushed out GPT Image 1.5, but that was really just a stopgap focused on generation speed and precise editing just to stay relevant. That code red warpath? That led directly to the April 2026 launch of ChatGPT Images 2.0, where OpenAI is striking back with an entirely new architecture.
This whole era is really defined by extreme competitive pressure. As one report noted, the competitive pressure that triggered Sam Altman's internal code red memo in late 2025 has produced a faster release cadence across all three. And by all three, we're talking about OpenAI, Google, and Microsoft, who, remember, recently entered the fray with their MAI Image 2 model. This fierce industry rivalry has just permanently shifted the focus from simple generation speed to pure, unadulterated capability.
Which brings us right into Section 2, meet ChatGPT Images 2.0.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the foundation of this release. It's a set of baseline upgrades available to absolutely every single user. It doesn't matter if you're on the free tier or a paid subscription. First up, resolution is bumped to a stunning 2K limit. Second, we get expanded aspect ratios, everything from wide cinematic 3:1 formats all the way to tall 1:3 mobile formats. Third, there are significant style improvements, specifically giving us way better fidelity for tricky formats like pixel art and manga. And finally, major upgrades to non-Latin text rendering.
Actually, I want to pause on that last point for a second because it's a massive workflow unblocker. The model boasts significant gains in text rendering for Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Hindi, and Bengali. Think about it. Historically, getting an AI to spell perfectly in English was hard enough, right? Non-Latin scripts were just a frustratingly weak point. But if these improvements really hold true in the wild, it empowers this massive global community of creators and developers who were essentially locked out of utilizing text-heavy AI generation in their own native languages. It's a game changer.
All right, moving to Section 3. Enter the thinking mode. So this is the massive new superpower. But note that this one is reserved for paid subscribers, so Plus, Pro, Business, and Enterprise users. Thinking mode is an optional architecture where the model actually searches the web for live context, and it reasons through the structure of the image before it even starts generating a single pixel. Think about what this really means. Before, if you asked an AI to, say, create a map of the current transit routes in Tokyo or illustrate the latest Mars rover landing site, it could really only guess based on old, outdated training data. Now, it hits the live web, pulls the current facts, reasons about how to visually structure that specific data, and then renders it. It is literally grounding its art in reality. And this brilliantly illustrates why this is a true architectural paradigm shift. The old standard was a basic generate and refine loop, right? Entirely reliant on static training time snapshots. The new architecture is a retrieve, reason, render pipeline grounded in live web search. It essentially takes the research capabilities of a search engine and merges them with the generative capabilities of an artist. It transforms the tool from just a mere illustrator into a visually articulate researcher. Okay, on to Section 4, solving the consistency problem. 8. For anyone who has ever pulled their hair out trying to get an AI to make just one tiny tweak without totally ruining the entire picture, 8 is the magic number. This single digit represents the ultimate workflow saver for digital artists everywhere.
Here's why. ChatGPT Images 2.0 now allows you to generate up to 8 images from a single prompt, keeping consistent characters, objects, and styles across all the frames. The old failure mode for iterative work was honestly agonizing. You'd get a perfect character, ask the model to change the background, and boom, it regenerates the character completely differently. It was a massive workflow blocker. But now, you can generate 8 identical frames of a manga page, or maybe a product design in 8 different lighting contexts, and the core elements remain completely structurally sound. It finally makes AI truly viable for sequential storytelling.
And that brings us to Section 5, Impact on API Developers. Let's move to and see how this builds a foundation for the builders out there, because underneath that slick ChatGPT interface is the raw GPT Image 2 model. For developers building real-world pipelines, here is your 4-step action plan. Step 1. Test the new 2K resolution and aspect ratios. Those wider and taller formats completely change what's feasible for your content. Step 2. Evaluate thinking node latency, because remember, live web retrieval takes time. Step 3. Check that multilingual text rendering for your specific user base. You might just have entirely new markets to enter now. And Step 4. Closely monitor API pricing. Generating larger batches with higher resolutions is absolutely going to impact your unit economics.
But we really need to double-click on Step 2 here, with a serious trade-off warning. Thinking capabilities add latency by design. Doing web retrieval and reasoning requires extra round trips before any rendering happens. So while the base model improvements apply instantly everywhere, this web-grounded thinking mode is a much heavier lift. If you're building an interactive app where a user expects an image in like 2 seconds, thinking mode might just be too slow. You have to ruthlessly balance the need for factual context against the absolute necessity of a snappy user experience. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this to ponder. If AI image generators now think and actually search the web for concrete facts before drawing a single pixel, where does the line between a search engine and an artist begin? We are stepping into an era where our creative tools don't just imagine, they investigate. Think about how that transforms your workflow and what it really means for the future of digital media. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and keep experimenting.